Flawless and Esopa. So there you go, guys. Esopa, the player to watch.
Happy?
Look at that guy. Look at that cute little Inferno
Flawless
Dragon.
really have an Inferno Dragon
Yes,
in his
he
deck?
does.
That is nuts.
Look at it.
That's something we haven't seen a ton of. It should be really good against all these Expos. That's where I imagine that card comes into play, is against the Expo decks. I think that's an Inferno Tower, not an Inferno Dragon. I'm looking at that deck list. I think it's Inferno Tower. I was really excited. I was
You're
like,
right, because we didn't see it in
I was like, yeah, I was like, we would have seen that card.
He was holding
it.
on
You're
to
right.
it.
I'm
That's
so
his
disappointed.
But same thing though, same idea though, right?
Yes.
It's a
just doesn't
high
fly.
health burning unit that is going to take down the enemy Expos. The Goblin Barrel though, very real.
Yeah.
Oh,
Talk to me about Inferno Dragon versus Inferno Tower. Would you rather, in a situation going in Siege, have one or the other, or is it kind of even?
It almost, so defensively, always Inferno Tower. Inferno Tower is, I think, just kind of better in many ways. I mean, it's a ground unit, so it can be hit
Inferno
by...
Dragon's a legendary. Inferno Dragon moves.
Yes.
In a foot race, the dragon would win. Yeah.
Yes. And so I think that the Inferno Dragon gains its advantage just in the fact that it brings that ability for that burn up to an aggressive state.
Gotcha.
Have you ever imagined an Inferno Tower shooting a tower?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, always.
You get to live that dream with Inferno Dragon.
Let's see. Who's going to take it? Flawless?
Oh, so I guess-
Esopa.
Uh-oh. Do you have it?
Start.
We already know where they're starting off at here. Esopa just throws the Goblin Barrel right away and says, what do you got? What do you have here?
Look
Show
at
me.
that. 2 stabs from the Goblin Barrel, 400 damage. For 3 costs, you're already doing more damage than a fireball.
Huge advantage for Esopa is that, well, he knows what his opponent has because all these players get to see each other's decks
Yes.
before the matches. He knows there's only a log and a fireball. You throw that Goblin Barrel, there's a 50-50 chance that log ain't in his opening hand,
Yeah.
and he's gonna have to fireball it or take the damage.
Ooh, Skeleton Army plus
Two
Miner
survive.
taking up.
Oh, the Ice Golem! Look at that.
Skeletons go! Oh, no! I think that one Skeleton got 2 swings. I think he's pretty happy.
The goal of the Ice Golem there was to push the Miner off and force it to retarget onto the Ice Golem. That works really well when the Miner is either on the left or right side, but it's not very good when the Miner's on the back side of the tower like it was there.
What a big opening for Esopa. And I mean, talk about cheap attacking cards. Flawless basically has to concede that Princess getting another shot in order to get his Expo out. And still, Esopa has the elixir enough to just stop that Expo cold.
I feel like Esopa's really controlling the tempo of the game. He's the one playing cards like Miner, Goblin Barrel, Princess, that forces Flawless to react. Flawless has one huge trump card, right? The Expo is the most you have to react to me card, but as long as Esopa can keep on the pattern of Miner, react to this, Goblin Barrel, react to this, it's gonna be really, really tough for Flawless to ever set up a really good Expo.
Man, and just those 2 stabs is already kind of buying back the cost of the Goblin Barrel.
That Expo's gonna turn around.
Yep. I think the Miner is not long to live, but technically it would have to turn around if it was still alive. It did turn around for a second, but locks onto the tower. Uh-oh. And the Ice Golem is coming out to give it the big hug.
There's
The
the
big
zap.
zap will be crisis management for Esopa.
Esopa has not forsaken the Zap like so many other players in this tournament, and that is, oh no, the Ice Spirit.
This is actually a big blow to Esopa's lead. I mean, this is one of the big things about tempo decks, is it feels like you're so far ahead in the game, but the executional requirement is so high that you see Esopa messing
Look at
it up.
this.
Zap, he does.
There it is.
The difference, see, Zap gives him so much more advantage. He can reset and retarget the Inferno Tower. He can reset and retarget the Expo as well. And both those things are really, really important.
Nice use of the Skeletons to extend, tanking up that Expo shot, and the log will clear the way for the Skeleton Army. And it swarms that down. Play a card. No, plays it too late. The Princess is going to get one more shot here.
If he can hold off for 10 seconds, I think Esopa can win this game in overtime.
Esopa needs to play carefully. I like that.
Yeah.
Do not get ahead of yourself. Make sure that you have something for the Expo.
Oh.
No. Who's going to win?
Oh my god! Oh my gosh!
13 health.
Expo
13 health.
takes it. Oh, there you go. Flawless.
wow.
Showing that Expo is just 13 points better than the Goblin Barrel in that
Game
situation.
of inches right there, and that just comes down to Rainey's point. Esopa, if he just played defensively, kept taking his shots when he could, got a little greedy, tried to play a little high tempo too early, maybe like a minute left on the clock, and he should have switched to there. 30 seconds, 15 seconds left. If you're way ahead in tower damage, once you go into overtime, hugely favored because the first tower that goes down, game's over.
Is it?
Right there, right? And he started to play like that a little too early and gave that opportunity for Flawless to
Slight greed, maybe.
Okay.
Just a little slight greed.
You know, the really hurtful thing is, depending on how the elixir came out, the right choice might have actually been to just Goblin Barrel in front of your tower. That way the goblins would tank the crossbow for a little bit longer for you to place the next thing to guard against that crossbow. That crossbow was not long to live. There was only a sliver of health left.
Sure.
If Esopa had cleared the threat of the Goblin Barrel out, that tower was low enough health that he could just throw whatever spells he had. He had another chance to do that. Esopa tried to squeeze that in while the Expo existed, and those few bolts were enough to clean the clock.
That's got to be so hard, though. Like, right when you see victory, you're like, I know my Goblin Barrels can do this.
Here's the
right
key.
there.
Flawless has the world's largest exhale after that game. Esopa, it's good that he's a very even-tempered sort of person, because that's the sort of loss that can really put you on tilt, that can really psych you out, and really start to make you play a little different than you normally would. And I think Esopa has the mindset for it, but he needs to just make sure that he doesn't completely throw the game away because of strong emotions.
Yeah, 13 points.
Strong emotions. Would definitely have to buy another iPhone if that happened to me.
Here we go. We've got Goblin Barrel.
Oh no! The positioning on the Skeleton Army was not good, and the bowler just went to town. Rolled a spare, 2 rocks, and the Skeleton Army was gone.
Even though the log took that tower out in the middle, I'm pretty comfortable. Oh, wow. Woo. Just blinked that thing right off the board. Yeah, so he's still leading in tower damage. I think he's comfortably still in this match, but you're right. You cannot afford to make mistakes like that over and over again.
Yes.
Flawless, Giant Bowler Lightning. Actually, not the exact same deck as what we saw earlier, but similar. Wow.
And just every single time, I mean, that's 4 elixir to answer 3, and you got damage in with the 3 that definitely justifies it. And Esopa's deck is well designed to be able to defend with a slight elixir disadvantage even. I mean, he's played Goblin Barrel and Miner, and he still has a Skeleton Army to defend this Giant Push and the Musketeer in the back. That's actually a very well-tuned deck.
Esopa is such a well-tuned deck. Here, check this out. He has Skeleton Army on the right side, Princess in the middle, Goblin Barrel at your tower. Where are you going to log? He had to use, Flawless chose to use log on the right side. That leaves the Princess free to just keep shooting, keep shooting. Yeah. He probably has another Princess in hand by now at this point, because that's how long the Princess has been around. And on top of that, once the log comes out, just throw that Goblin Barrel. You know they don't have an answer for it.
Definitely, it's getting to be a tricky spot, because if Esopa plays the Princess on the right like he does, you can't even log both of them.
Yeah. Now,
you're going to have to choose one or the other, and you get punished by the Goblin Barrel.
Got to be real careful, though, about accidentally putting the Skeleton Army down near either of them, because then you're giving up a very, very valuable log.
Yes. Here comes the Inferno Tower. All right, how is the defense going to come out? Where are you going to spend your log? Big Lightning eliminates one of the princesses. The log is being used on defense, and I think Esopa's going to be more than happy with that, because now he still has 2 princesses. Big arrow whiff! That is the
fancy feat!
Oh my God, where is the princess? You can't see her. She's left, she's right. She's shooting your tower on the left side. And finally does that princess go down. How long did that princess survive?
I mean, how much damage does a princess do?
Infinite.
Infinite damage. You have to deal with her. You cannot just ignore her and let her walk into the towers like every other troop in the game, because that's it. Never does it.
You have no log. And now there's a princess and a miner. Has to arrow down the Goblin Barrel, but now that princess is just shooting for infinity and beyond.
Esopa's got it.
That shows just how many great log and arrow targets there are in Esopa's deck. Flawless had log and arrows and was struggling to actually keep them off the board.
Which was so crazy, because I was going to ask, when earlier on, I think he went against someone who also had log and arrows against his princess. And like, if your opponent has such easy answers, like, when do you even get a chance to play him?
Yeah, I think that Flawless is probably sitting there going, how did I lose to that deck? Like, I have the cards to beat that deck in my deck, and he just couldn't seem to put it together.
How did that happen? He had 2 princesses out there for a really long time. And
yeah, I mean, I think
no answer?
I think what Flawless was doing there was he was investing Giant plus Bowler, and he really needed the Lightning to get by the Inferno Tower of Esopa's. So Esopa just puts down 5 and says, beat this.
Deal with
and
it.
In order to do that, Flawless needed 16? Ugh. He needed so much more elixir to crack through just a simple Inferno Tower, because there's no zap. There's no, log doesn't reset anything, and arrows doesn't do that either. So,
What are you going to do?
game 3,
Here we go.
but no more Goblin Barrel deck.
Rainy,
Oh,
log
no.
is such a popular card. You see it used by most of these players. Why? Is it just because it's so cheap and does what a lot of other more expensive cards do?
It's cheap, and it does more damage than arrows, and it also has the knockback factor, which essentially
Just a way
increases
better
the
arrows.
damage that it does because your tower is constantly pinging units. If you push them back and reset their positioning, I mean, just as run speed is important to aggressive cards doing a lot of damage, essentially if you push a card back, you're reducing the damage that it can do. That's a big open for the Hog Rider. I think it's going to get
wow.
3 hits.
Oh, 3 hits.
That was great. Esopa, I mean, Hog Rider against Bowler is not good for the Hog Rider at all, but with very skillful use of only 3 Elixir, an Ice Spirit, and a Zap, he was able to do significant damage to that tower.
He used mini skeletons and then the Ice Spirit. That will take down the Musketeer. And that's cheap defense. When you have both 1 Elixir cards, you open up lines of play that are not normally that possible, but definitely something that is going to give Flawless a lot of trouble.
Keep in mind, Esopa has Lightning as his 8th card. So if he, especially when we get into double Elixir time, can play a Hog Rider and Flawless ever makes a defense of something like Mega Minion plus Musketeer, he is going to get gobbled up by a very valuable Lightning. He's got to avoid that.
All right, Skeleton's making their way across, but I don't think they're going to convert into very much.
Esopa has a pretty significant Elixir lead because just there, Flawless spent 8 Elixir, Tombstone and Bowler, to stop a single 4 Elixir Hog Rider. That gave Esopa the opportunity to sort of see what his opponent's doing, counter for it. I think he's pretty happy with how that turned out.
Let's go.
Good damage done by Flawless so far.
Pretty valuable log there.
Is he going to drop the Bowler? Oh,
Doesn't have the Elixir for it, he just played Tombstone.
I think Zap is a big idea here. Oh, there it is. Hog's going to get 3 swings, maybe another one.
Wow.
Now
Hog Rider
Esopa can
Zap.
just sit back.
You're right, because he has, well, you're right, because he only needs a Lightning and a Princess shot would do it. Not a Lightning and a Zap. 2 Lightnings will definitely do it. So he's going to need, the Princess has been really effective at the river, though. If you've noticed, there's been a lot of opportunities where he's playing the Princess, and even if it gets long, he's doing 140 to the tower while the opponent's doing like 100. Not the end of the world.
Wow, actually use that lightning to clear out. I bet Esopa would have wished that he waited a little longer for that Bowler to get placed on the floor. But now there's a pretty complicated defense. Oh, doesn't quite get the jump. There's actually a timing where you can place the Hog.
1 hit.
Doesn't quite get it.
But he did keep damage off his tower, which is more important.
Yes.
Esopa has the game on lock in the next 15 seconds. He just has to not lose, right?
Lightning.
So the Hog Rider has it. Oh no!
Wait.
I actually think that's the right choice.
Or no, he can't long.
I actually think that Lightning is a right choice because unlike the first game that they played, you want to make sure that you secure stable footing.
Okay.
Because at any time, literally any time right now, he can play there.
There it is.
Lightning
You're
and
right. There it is. Esopa taking it 2-1 against Flawless. And now both of your picks, gentlemen, Romham picking Flash, Rainy picking Esopa, are now moving on to the final.
I'm coming for you,
Yeah,
Rain
so this is
Man.
great. This is the red versus blue. This is it.
I'm very bad at counting. You should not call me the Rain Man.
You were saying something about the Hog Rider in the game, but you didn't.
Yeah, actually,
Thank you, Todd.
thank you for bringing that up.
remember.
I really like having the opportunity to say really obscure things that maybe people won't understand. But
That's why we love you.
if there's a Bowler coming down the bridge and you play the Hog Rider at just the right spot, Bowler will turn around and go "Urgh," and throw a boulder at the Hog Rider. The Hog Rider will jump and avoid the boulder entirely. Then the Bowler will turn around and say, I want to chase you, Hog Rider, and walk all the way back, following the Hog Rider back to its own tower. And the Hog Rider is just going to be swinging and swinging and swinging and swinging, and you're going to get a ton of damage.
I couldn't keep up.
Okay.
All right, let's go and look at the replay here. Bringing up
feel
Rainy,
that.
your first card, the Goblin Barrel.
Goblin Barrel.
I love this card so much, but really I think the big thing was not just the Goblin Barrel, but the Goblin Barrel in conjunction with the Princess and just the play
Skeleton
in front of the bridge. Yeah, the Skeleton Army, just all of it combined. That's really what Esopa did to craft his victory in the match.
Look at this skillful. Look at that. Okay, it freezes the Bowler for 2 seconds, giving me a shot. Freezes for another half second, which gets 3 swings. That is extracting every bit of health out of the rock there in order to do the maximum amount of offense.
Yeah, Tombstone very late, but the bad thing about that is because you know that the Hog Rider is so far down the bridge already, you need to play the Tombstone near your tower because otherwise the Hog Rider is just going to ignore it, keep going and start hitting the tower. Had to play the Tombstone near the tower, one well-timed zap right when the Hog Rider did its last swing to break the Tombstone and have the extra skeletons pop, killed all the skeletons, earned that Hog Rider a bunch of swings.
With Hog Rider is cards that can do resets like Zap or Ice Spirit or Lightning. Are those essential to having an effective Hog Rider deck?
Yes, I think so because Hog Rider is the kind of card where it makes all the difference whether you get one 1 swing, 2 swings, 3 swings are all
That can change the game.
incredibly. I mean, a Hog Rider, depending on what they drop, buys itself back with 1 swing. Or depending on what they drop, buys itself back again with 2 swings. And once you start getting 3 or 4, you start getting into this world where you're doing a ton of damage. And oftentimes it's just the littlest differences, right? For example, if you have a mini P.E.K.K.A standing there, ready to 2-shot your Hog Rider, normally you would get 1 swing off.
Yeah.
But say, for example, you have something like Ice Spirit. All of a sudden, that mini P.E.K.K.A that would have normally given the Hog only 1 swing, if it gets frozen, now the Hog gets 2, and now you have this mini P.E.K.K.A that's really easy to take care of once it crosses your bridge, and you're like, I'm fine with that trade.
Yeah. So if you guys at home running Hog Riders, get something that can stop
Yes.
other things.
Yes.
Let's take a look at our bracket.
Yeah, let's pull it up so far. Again, we are now moving into the finals, and you guys are great at predicting Flash
Seriously?
and Esopa. I mean, I was going to ask you guys kind of again who you think should take
This
it,
is
but we know.
where there can only be one
There can
winner.
only be one.
Much like when these players go to the crown duels, there can only be one. There can only be one player that wins. So is it going to be Flash? Or is it going to be Esopa?
Again, these guys are playing for $2,000. So first place today takes home $2,000, and they have that chance to move on to the arena battles. After 16 coronation days, 8 go on to the arena battles. After those arena battles, going on to the crown duels.
Someone here today could be making $15,000.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Eventually in the future.
Yeah.
They're playing for a lot of stuff. Thinking that trip to Supercell
Yeah.
HQ. All right, now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the final battle of Coronation Day number